Welcome to Nordic Nonsense. Today I bring you outside, as you can see, where the green is since it's the election time. Norwegian elections are really hard to predict, as I would say it's much easier to predict the benzene price, it's much easier to predict the next boyfriend of the Princess King color. But to predict who's going to win in the elections, that's pretty much complicated in Norway. And the reason I brought you outside to talk about one of the most controversial political parties in the Norwegian market. If you haven't guessed it by now, we are talking about MDG, Environmental Green Party. MDG promising people a cheaper public transport ticket capped at 500 kroner. I find this really ridiculous. As offensive, especially to bring it right now during the election time. But before we jump into the DMG promises, we need to talk about what MDG stands for. And I don't mean the initials. I'm talking about what these stand for politically. You see what I've done here? You see the wordplay? This video should have been this rap track. Well, I find it really ridiculous, the fact that we don't know what these stand for. Because if you care about the environment, you're a tree hugger, you can just start a charity group. But if you want to participate in a parliament, if you want to participate in the communa, then we need to know what you stand for politically. And I expect when I hear a political party, because people goes like, oh, you need to read about them, you need to see what they say, you need to think of what they have promised or things like this. And I don't think this is a valid point, because I think a political party name should be self-explanatory. You hear the name and then you know exactly what they stand for. Which side are they on subjects like immigrancy, refugees, foreigners, labor, working hours, minimum pay, yada, yada, yada. But to just think of them and then say, oh, do you love environment? Then, yeah, everybody love environment. Then should everybody start like a political party? I like marshmallows. Shall I start the marshmallows party? Just I want to say, if you enjoyed this video so far, please give me a like, because apparently this helps a lot with the algorithms. And if you haven't subscribed, just smash that button so you don't miss out on the future updates. When I think of MDG politically as well, I think it's like they are the big fans of boom. They love to throw around those tolls, making us pay for crossing. As also, like, they've been closing a lot of streets around Oslo. They've been throwing it around. Like right down the corner here where I live, there is actually one boom. To cross from one side to the another, I need to basically drive 15 minutes just to get something from the other side, which is, I live right 10 meters away from that boom. But to get to the other side of that boom, I have to drive 15 minutes. I don't know if they have thought about this. I don't know if they have think this through, but definitely I would assume that they have not, because it would have reflected on where they placed their booms before they placed them, first of all. I tried to contact many agencies, government and so on, asking them, okay, on what basis? Yeah, we want to limit traffic. Yeah, absolutely, that's super nice to limit traffic in some parts of the city, but have you thought through what the people that lives there will be suffering from? And the answer is always nada. I don't get an answer on that, or any good answer. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. Or if it would have made sense to me, then I would have stopped being annoyed by them. MDG is they're actually the guys who want us to take public transport, which is really amazing. But sometimes we need to consider what actually a single mom with 3 kids that has to deliver 2 or 1 to the barnehage, 2 to the school, and then go to work, how the public transport could serve her. And are we punishing her because she has to deliver the kids to school and go into work afterwards? Do they take this in consideration, even if it's a minority? Do we stop caring about minorities? Do we take those people in consideration when we think about like what are they doing? Do we actually take minorities in consideration when we are passing in law? The public transport in Norway, it's not efficient at all. It's not good enough to rely on it totally. What we are doing, we're just punishing people that doesn't have option to go home or to go to work any day of the week. Just take a walk to your favorite restaurant that closes around 3 o'clock. A lot of restaurants and bars in Oslo close after 2 to 3 o'clock, and see like your favorite waiter or your favorite bartender trying to get home. It is miserable. There is no transport during the whole week for people to actually go home after a hectic day at work. Why we don't have transport at night? Are we limited to a certain hour? Is this like some sort of a, I would say, passive-aggressive curfew we have thrown into? I remember when I worked night, it was a nightmare to get back home. Otherwise, you have to just take a taxi. And if you take a car, you're going to be punished twice. Once by parking the car, secondly by paying the boom, or just take a taxi. It's as simple as that. Are those people are taking in consideration when we talk about like public transport? Okay, make the public transport dependable, and I promise you, no one will be driving around. But it's not sufficient. It's not dependable. It's not effective, and it's not available half of the night. Why we don't have at least like, let's say, one bus or one train every hour? And now let's talk about those 500 kroners caps. I remember when I moved permanently to Norway back in 2014, public transport ticket was for 30 kroners. The year after 2015, it jumped to 33 kroners. So it was 3 kroners up. For everybody, it was like just a small money, 3 kroners. What can 3 kroners do for you? But I was screaming out loud that those are 10%. And when we talk about 10% here, it is a huge percentage to raise it just gang. And I was thinking, if this have happened in any other country in Europe, like in France or in Italy or in Greece, or people would have been out on the streets protesting, because I did not see that the availability of public transport raised by 10%. I don't see the salary of the drivers or the people work on the T-Bahn or the buses raised by 10%. I didn't see the availability of the buses raised by 10%. I didn't see the quality of raised by 10%. I don't see that the number of buses or trains have raised by 10%. So if you raise the price by 10%, you're just making nothing but profit. A lot of countries have given us example of how having a public transport for free. Try tomorrow, just for 1 month, put it out for free and see how many people will be driving. I would say none, because nobody wants to pay for something that is available for free. So if you really care about the environment, stop bullshit and put it down for real. You are just trying to make money of people and using the environment as an excuse. Simple as that. Now, speaking of those 500 kroners tickets, few days before the elections, the only thing I can think about is the cold presser test, which is basically an experiment that have been taken on a sample of people, where they get 1 tank of cold water, putting their hands there for a few seconds. On the second stage of the test, they would put their hands in another tank of water for a longer period, goes up to 8 minutes. But the trick this time, as by the end of it, the water temperature starts to increase gradually. So the last feeling, the experiment, is more comfortable feeling of pain after 8 minutes of pain. So at the end, the water starts to get sweeter or nicer to them. At the third stage of the test, people get asked to do it one more time, but this time they get to decide which tank they put their hand in. And majority of them actually choose to put their hand and go through a pain for 8 minutes, because their brains have tricked them that this one was less painful than the one they put their hands in for 10 seconds, which make all the sense. And this is exactly what MDG and majority of political parties psychologically manipulate us. Right before the elections, they give us a sweet promise, make us forget about all the pain they caused us during the whole period before it. And that's the main reason I had to point out and make this video, because I don't want you to be manipulated by those dirty tricks. Those guys are just using a cause that a lot of people care about just to secure some seats in the parliament and the Kommuna. And last but not least, please don't let such a minor promises trick you. Read more about the political parties, see who represent your issues that you're struggling off day by day, and don't just fall for those fake, tricky, or those cheap promises. Because the bus or the T-Bahn ticket was for 500 kroners. Few years later, they have actually boosted the prices up, and now they want to make you feel grateful that they just give you a fraction of a discount on it. And as I said, if those guys really care about the environment and the people at the same time, they would have went for, we want the public transport to be free. Thank you for watching this video so far. Let me know if I should repeat this experiment, shooting outside. It actually have a good reflection on my mood to be outside in the green, talking about the green. It actually has a good reflection on my mood to be outside talking about politics. Hopefully it's not much noisy. I will see in the edit how it's gonna be sounding. This is Nordic Nonsense. Would we like to look at the news with a little bit of a different angle? Ha det bra.